8 senseless things narcissists do after collapsing for real. Narcissists often project an image of invincibility, charming, confident, and in control. But beneath this carefully constructed persona lies a fragile self-esteem, one that can collapse when their web of deceit starts to unravel. So, what happens when a narcissist's facade cracks for real? The answer might surprise you, because the things they do in response to their collapse are often mind-boggling, illogical, and frankly senseless. In this video, we're diving deep into the bizarre and irrational actions narcissists tend to take when their world falls apart. If you've ever wondered why a narcissist reacts the way they do when faced with the consequences of their own actions, stick around. What you're about to hear will make everything clear. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. Let's get started. It's essential to understand that narcissists rely on their inflated sense of self-worth and their ability to manipulate those around them. The moment their carefully curated image is threatened, they can act in ways that seem completely disconnected from reality. So, let's look at 8 senseless things narcissists typically do when they finally collapse for real. 1. Playing the victim when they're clearly the aggressor. One of the most infuriating and predictable tactics employed by narcissists when their carefully constructed world begins to fall apart is the immediate shift to playing the victim. Despite being the very cause of the chaos and destruction, they somehow manage to manipulate the situation in a way that places the blame squarely on others, particularly those who have suffered at their hands. It's almost as if they convince themselves that, by portraying themselves as innocent victims, they can escape responsibility for their actions. They might claim that life is unfair, or that the world is conspiring against them, even though it's their own behavior that has led to their downfall. This twisted sense of injustice is particularly maddening because it not only downplays the real harm they've caused, but also manipulates those around them into questioning their own perceptions of the situation. It's a deeply frustrating and perplexing maneuver that many people have difficulty understanding, as it turns the tables and seeks to elicit sympathy for someone who, in reality, deserves none. The narcissist will often exaggerate their suffering to the point of absurdity, making grandiose statements about how everything in their life is falling apart and how they are the victim of unfair circumstances. This portrayal of themselves as a martyr or a victim of cruel fate is a tactic designed to elicit sympathy from others and manipulate them into aligning with their narrative. Their ultimate goal is to avoid facing the consequences of their actions and to shift the blame away from themselves, all while convincing others that they are the ones who have been wronged. This manipulation can be especially effective on those who are empathetic or unaware of the narcissist's true nature, as it taps into the human instinct to defend the perceived victim and to right perceived wrongs. However, those who see through this tactic understand it for what it is: a deliberate and manipulative effort to escape accountability. 2. Denial of the collapse. Another hallmark of a narcissist's response to their world crumbling is an almost delusional denial of their downfall. No matter how undeniable the evidence of their failure may be, whether it's the end of a relationship, a dramatic loss of status, or a complete financial collapse, the narcissist will often refuse to accept what is happening. They will ignore reality in favor of a fabricated narrative where everything is still under their control. Even when all the signs point to failure, they will continue to assert that everything is perfectly fine, repeating phrases like, "This is just a minor setback," or "I'm just going through a rough patch." They may insist that there is no need for concern, even as their entire world crumbles around them. This refusal to acknowledge the collapse is not just a temporary coping mechanism. It is a deeply ingrained defense mechanism that narcissists use to protect their fragile egos from being shattered by the harsh truths of their situation. In their minds, admitting failure would be akin to admitting their own inadequacies, something they simply cannot bear to do. Their entire self-worth is based on the illusion of superiority and control, and acknowledging failure would directly threaten this illusion. Thus, they cling to denial as a means of maintaining the facade they have spent years building. This behavior can be deeply frustrating for those around them, especially when the narcissist's refusal to face reality leads to even greater damage. The longer they refuse to acknowledge the truth, the harder it becomes to deal with the consequences of their actions, both for themselves and for others. Ultimately, their refusal to accept responsibility can lead to further chaos, leaving everyone involved trapped in a cycle of denial and avoidance. 3. Projecting their own failures onto others. As the collapse of their world continues, narcissists often turn to a tactic that is both maddening and frustrating: projection. Instead of taking responsibility for their own failures, they will attempt to shift the blame onto others, accusing them of the very things they are guilty of themselves. If they've lied, manipulated, or cheated, they will suddenly accuse those around them of being deceitful or manipulative, completely disregarding their own role in the situation. This sudden and absurd shift in blame is one of the narcissist's most infuriating behaviors, as it turns the tables and forces others to defend themselves against false accusations. It is not just a way to avoid accountability, it is a way to maintain the illusion that they are somehow superior to everyone else. The narcissist's need to project their own flaws onto others is rooted in their inability to confront their own shortcomings. Rather than take a hard look at their own behavior and accept responsibility for their mistakes, they prefer to point fingers and make others feel guilty for things they never did. This tactic allows them to keep their own ego intact by shifting the focus away from their own failures and onto those around them. It is a desperate attempt to maintain the illusion of control and superiority, even in the face of overwhelming evidence of their own incompetence and dysfunction. This behavior can be particularly harmful to those who are close to the narcissist, as it often leads to emotional manipulation, confusion, and self-doubt. The narcissist's need to deflect blame is a constant source of frustration and conflict, especially for those who have been harmed by their actions. 4. Desperate attempts to regain control. When a narcissist's world begins to fall apart, their sense of control slips away, and they will often resort to desperate measures in an attempt to regain it. These attempts to regain control are frequently irrational, extreme, and often dangerous. The narcissist may resort to stalking, harassing, or creating chaos to reassert dominance over the situation, believing that by stirring the pot, they can force things to go back to their preferred status quo. They may even attempt to manipulate their friends, family, or colleagues into siding with them, dragging them into a situation that has nothing to do with them. This frantic effort to regain control often has the opposite effect, as it exposes the narcissist's vulnerabilities and creates even more chaos in their wake. Their actions are often erratic, fueled by a desperate need to reassert their power and influence. They may engage in reckless behavior, including emotional blackmail, spreading lies, or trying to cause division between others to create a sense of instability. This behavior stems from the narcissist's overwhelming fear of losing control, which in their mind equates to losing their identity and sense of superiority. The more their world unravels, the more they will try to grasp onto whatever semblance of power they can find, even if it means harming those around them. These frantic, often bizarre attempts to regain control reveal just how fragile the narcissist's grip on reality truly is, as they are willing to go to great lengths, often damaging themselves and others in the process, to maintain their illusion of power and control. 5. Self-sabotage as a cry for attention. It's fascinating, and often deeply frustrating, that narcissists, when faced with their own inevitable collapse, can resort to self-sabotage as a means of gaining attention. Instead of confronting the reality of their failure, they turn to destructive behaviors, often making reckless decisions that harm themselves and those around them. These actions can range from excessive spending to engaging in toxic relationships or making disastrous career moves. The driving force behind this self-destructive behavior is not a true desire to ruin their lives, but rather a deep, desperate need for attention. Narcissists crave validation, and if they are unable to get the kind of attention they want, they may escalate their behavior in increasingly destructive ways, hoping that someone will notice them and rush to save them from their mess. In their minds, any attention, even negative, is better than no attention at all. If their initial outbursts or reckless behavior fail to elicit the response they want, they may go even further, pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable in the hope that someone will intervene. This desperate attempt to draw attention can often come across as an emotional tantrum, where the narcissist throws everything they have into an attempt to regain the spotlight, even if it means burning bridges with those around them. In many cases, the goal is not to achieve any specific outcome, but simply to be the center of attention once more, regardless of whether that attention is positive or negative. This cry for help, disguised as self-sabotage, reveals just how deeply the narcissist is dependent on external validation and how far they are willing to go to reclaim their sense of importance. 6. Rewriting history. Perhaps one of the most baffling behaviors of a narcissist during a collapse is their attempt to rewrite history. When their carefully constructed persona begins to crack, they often turn to revisionism, attempting to alter the way they are remembered by others. They will tell stories about their past that bear no resemblance to the truth, casting themselves as victims or heroes in situations where they were, in fact, the antagonist. This deliberate distortion of the past is part of their broader effort to manipulate how they are perceived by others. They want to be seen as blameless or even righteous, even when the evidence clearly shows that they were the one at fault. By twisting the narrative, they hope to gain sympathy and understanding from others, re-establishing their position as someone who deserves admiration and respect. The narcissist's need to control the narrative is driven by a deep fear of being seen for who they truly are. When their facade starts to crumble, rewriting history becomes a coping mechanism to maintain their inflated self-image. By changing the past, they believe they can manipulate those around them into forgetting their misdeeds, or at least forgiving them. This revisionism is not merely a tactic to cover up their flaws, but a fundamental attempt to reshape their identity in the eyes of others. They may fabricate elaborate stories, casting themselves in a heroic light or blaming others for their failures. The more they distort reality, the more they try to force others to view them as they wish to be seen, rather than as they truly are. 7. Manipulating others for sympathy. In the aftermath of their collapse, narcissists often turn to manipulation as a way to win back the sympathy and emotional support they desperately crave. Having caused the very situations they now complain about, they will reach out to friends, family, or even ex-partners with sob stories, trying to evoke sympathy for their struggles. They will paint a picture of their life as being overwhelmingly difficult, portraying themselves as victims of their circumstances, even though they are the ones who created the chaos. This manipulation is a way for them to regain some semblance of control and to pull others back into their emotional web, where they can continue to extract validation and support. In some cases, narcissists will take their manipulation even further, using vulnerable individuals, such as children or other family members, as pawns in their game. They may twist the truth or exaggerate their plight, pulling on the heartstrings of those who care about them in order to win favour and avoid facing the consequences of their actions. This tactic is particularly insidious because it preys on the compassion of others, making it difficult for people to recognise that they are being manipulated. The narcissist's ability to evoke sympathy, despite being the one at fault, is a testament to their skill in playing on others' emotions. It's a way for them to maintain control over their relationships and to avoid dealing with the fallout from their own behaviour. 8. Seeking to destroy those who expose them. Perhaps the most dangerous response a narcissist has when their true nature is exposed is to seek revenge on those who have dared to reveal the truth. The narcissist's sense of entitlement is so ingrained that they believe anyone who uncovers their flaws or exposes their deceit must be punished. Their response can be extreme and vindictive, including character assassination, spreading lies, or even resorting to legal action to silence their critics. When someone exposes the narcissist for who they really are, they perceive it as an existential threat, one that must be eliminated at all costs. This desire to destroy anyone who dares to challenge their carefully crafted image is an attempt to maintain whatever power and control they have left. The narcissist's vindictive behaviour is driven by an intense fear of being publicly humiliated or losing their status. In their minds, anyone who points out their flaws or brings their true nature to light is not just a critic, they are a threat to their very survival. The narcissist's response is to destroy that threat by any means necessary, even if it means ruining the lives of others in the process. This behaviour is particularly dangerous because it shows the lengths to which the narcissist is willing to go to protect their ego. They will stop at nothing to ensure that their secrets are kept hidden, and anyone who dares to expose them becomes a target. This desire for revenge is a testament to the narcissist's deep need for control and their refusal to accept the reality of their own shortcomings. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and explore the irrational behaviours narcissists exhibit when their world comes crashing down. The collapse of a narcissist can be a bizarre, unpredictable, and deeply frustrating experience. But understanding these senseless actions can help you navigate your own interactions with them. If this video resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might be dealing with narcissists in their own lives. Together, we can create a supportive community where we can lift each other up in the face of toxic relationships. Remember, you are not alone, and your peace and well-being are worth protecting. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay alert and prepare. The narcissist will be back. Don't let your guard down. Have you ever thought you were finally free from a narcissist, only to find them creeping back into your life when you least expected it? It's a chilling realization that just when you feel safe, the narcissist finds a way to re-enter, testing your boundaries and attempting to regain control. But why do they always come back? What fuels their relentless need to return, even after you've moved on and fortified your emotional walls? In this video, we'll explore the compelling reasons why narcissists make their way back into your life. We'll uncover the psychological patterns that drive their behaviour and offer insights into how you can protect yourself. By the end, you'll not only understand the tactics they use, but also have the tools to keep them at bay. So, stay with us as we dive deep into this essential topic and uncover the truth about why narcissists can't seem to let go. Before we jump in, Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who might need this information. Together, we can create a community of empowerment and resilience. Now, let's get started. Narcissists are skilled manipulators who excel at maintaining control over others. Their return to your life is never an act of spontaneity or random chance. It's a carefully calculated move. They thrive on the illusion of being irreplaceable and indispensable, constructing a narrative in which their presence is central to your well-being. When they sense that their influence over you is slipping or fading, they activate a well-practiced strategy to regain that control. This strategy often comes cloaked in emotional appeals, such as a heartfelt plea for reconciliation or a dramatic declaration of self-improvement. The key to protecting yourself from falling into their trap lies in understanding the motivations driving their actions and staying vigilant to recognize the unmistakable signs of their return. Initially, the narcissist may present themselves as deeply remorseful, expressing sorrow and claiming they've had a profound realization about their past mistakes. They might promise that they've undergone a transformation, that they're finally ready to be the person you've hoped they could be. This display can be incredibly persuasive, especially if you're someone who naturally wants to believe in the goodness of others. Yet, beneath this seemingly genuine facade lies a calculated agenda. Their return is rarely, if ever, rooted in genuine love, regret, or a desire to make amends. Instead, it's driven by a need to regain the control they lost when you began to distance yourself from their toxic influence. Every word they say and every gesture they make is strategically designed to reignite the emotional attachment that keeps you tied to their power. To truly understand their behavior, it's crucial to recognize that narcissists view relationships not as mutual connections based on love or respect, but as transactional arrangements. For them, every interaction is about what they can extract or gain. When you choose to detach yourself from their influence, they don't feel the pain of losing you as a person. They experience the discomfort of losing the power they once wielded over you. This loss is intolerable for them, not because they care about you, but because their fragile sense of self-worth is heavily dependent on external validation. Your absence threatens their carefully constructed identity, so they return, not out of concern for your well-being, but because they cannot bear the idea of someone else occupying the role they believe only they deserve. Their timing is another hallmark of their manipulative nature. Narcissists don't just return randomly. They wait for the most opportune moment to reinsert themselves into your life. Often, they monitor your circumstances from a distance, waiting for signs of vulnerability. Perhaps you're navigating a particularly challenging period, such as a loss, a breakup, or a significant change in your life that leaves you feeling uncertain or overwhelmed. Alternatively, they might notice you thriving, building a new career, forming healthier relationships, or stepping into your own power, and their return is an attempt to disrupt your progress. Their reappearance is rarely coincidental. It's carefully timed to exploit your emotional state, whether you're in need of support or basking in newfound happiness. Narcissists are masters at exploiting situations to their advantage, and they are incredibly adept at reading people's emotions. When they sense vulnerability, they seize the opportunity to manipulate your feelings, often appearing as a source of comfort or stability. This can make their return feel almost serendipitous, as though they've come back into your life at just the right time. However, this is part of their calculated approach. They know exactly how to position themselves as someone you might be tempted to trust again, especially when your defenses are down. On the other hand, if they sense that you're thriving, their return may take on a different tone, characterized by subtle undermining tactics designed to shake your confidence and derail your progress. They may mask their jealousy with concern or use passive-aggressive comments to make you question your choices. What's most insidious about their return is how they manipulate your memories and emotions. They may remind you of the good times you shared, conveniently omitting the pain they caused. They rely on your capacity for empathy, forgiveness, and hope to draw you back into their web. Their charm and charisma can make it difficult to see through their true intentions, especially if they've perfected the art of playing the victim or portraying themselves as someone in need of your help. This is why it's so important to remain alert and grounded in your truth. Recognize that their attempts at reconciliation are not about repairing the relationship for your mutual benefit. They are about restoring the control they once had over you. To protect yourself, it's vital to understand the underlying patterns of their behavior and to trust your instincts. Pay attention to how their actions align, or fail to align, with their words. Be aware that their promises of change are often superficial, intended to lure you back rather than reflect genuine personal growth. Recognize their attempts to make you doubt yourself or to question the progress you've made without them. The more you understand their tactics, the easier it becomes to resist their pull and maintain the boundaries you've worked so hard to establish. One of the most unsettling aspects of a narcissist's return is their remarkable ability to appear genuine and sincere. They have an uncanny knack for identifying exactly what you need to hear and will tailor their words to fit your emotional vulnerabilities with precision. They may express deep regret for their past actions, acknowledge the harm they've caused, and promise to change in ways that seem heartfelt and convincing. This display can be incredibly persuasive, especially if you have a compassionate nature or a desire to see the good in others. Yet beneath this carefully constructed facade, their true intentions remain unchanged. Their goal is not reconciliation or growth. It is to re-establish control, reignite the toxic dynamics that serve their interests, and reinsert themselves into a position of dominance in your life. To navigate this situation effectively, it is crucial to understand that their outward expressions of remorse or change are often nothing more than manipulative tactics. Narcissists are experts at masking their true motives, and their ability to feign sincerity is one of their most powerful tools. They aim to lower your defenses, rekindle trust, and pull you back into their orbit before you have the chance to recognize the pattern. This is why it's essential to remain vigilant and critical of their words and actions, no matter how convincing they may appear. Protecting yourself starts with recognizing their behavior for what it is, a calculated attempt to reassert control. Setting firm boundaries is one of the most effective ways to protect yourself from falling back into their trap. Boundaries are not just rules. They are a declaration of your self-worth and a statement that you will no longer tolerate the manipulation and control they seek to impose. When you enforce these boundaries consistently, you send a clear message that their tactics no longer have the desired effect. This can be difficult, especially if the narcissist reacts with anger, guilt-tripping, or attempts to weigh you down. However, your ability to remain steadfast in your boundaries is a critical step toward reclaiming your independence and breaking free from their influence. Indifference is another powerful tool in your arsenal. Narcissists thrive on eliciting emotional reactions, whether positive or negative. When they realize that their actions no longer provoke the response they seek, they lose the leverage they rely on to manipulate you. This doesn't mean they will give up without a fight. Narcissists are persistent and will often escalate their tactics when they sense their control slipping. But every time you refuse to engage, every time you respond with calm detachment instead of emotional reactivity, you are taking back your power. You are showing them that their games no longer work on you. And this can be incredibly disarming to someone who depends on control. Building a strong support system is another critical step in fortifying yourself against a narcissist's return. One of their most insidious tactics is isolation, creating an environment where you feel as though you have no one else to turn to. They often work to sever your connections with friends, family, or anyone who might provide you with support and perspective. By consciously rebuilding or strengthening these connections, you create a network of trusted individuals who can offer guidance, encouragement, and accountability. This network acts as a protective barrier, reminding you of your worth and providing the emotional resilience needed to resist the narcissist's advances. Whether it's confiding in close friends, seeking the support of family members, or working with a therapist or counselor, surrounding yourself with people who have your best interests at heart is a powerful way to safeguard your well-being. It's also important to recognize that a narcissist's return does not signify failure on your part. Their persistence is not a reflection of your progress or strength, but rather a testament to their inability to let go. Narcissists are driven by an unrelenting need for control and validation, and they view your independence as a direct threat to their fragile sense of self. Their determination to re-enter your life is a sign of their own inability to accept boundaries, not a measure of your success in moving forward. By staying alert, prepared, and grounded in your sense of self-worth, you demonstrate that you are capable of protecting yourself and maintaining your autonomy. When the narcissist does reappear, one of their most common tactics is to rewrite history. They may attempt to downplay or outright deny their past actions, instead emphasizing the good times you shared or highlighting moments when they appeared to care for you. This selective memory is designed to confuse your emotions, making you question your own experiences and doubt the pain and turmoil they caused. This is where trusting your instincts becomes crucial. You know the truth of what happened. You've lived it. Don't allow their manipulative narratives to cloud your judgment or undermine the progress you've made. Hold on to the clarity of your experiences and resist the temptation to romanticize or excuse their behavior. Perhaps one of the most empowering realizations you can have is that you don't need the narcissist's validation or approval. Their return is not an indication of your value or importance in their life. It's a reflection of their own inability to cope with losing control. Use their return as an opportunity to reaffirm your boundaries, assert your independence, and reinforce the strength you've developed. By refusing to engage, you're not only protecting yourself, but also sending a clear message that their behavior is no longer acceptable. This act of self-preservation is a powerful step toward breaking free from their grip and reclaiming your life. Every time you stand firm, resist their advances, and prioritize your well-being, you are dismantling the toxic cycle they depend on. It may not be easy, and there may be moments when you feel tempted to give in to their appeals. But remember that your worth is not tied to their approval, and your happiness does not depend on their presence. You have the strength to move forward without them, and each step you take towards self-empowerment brings you closer to a life free from their influence. Their return is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity, a chance to prove to yourself that you are capable of standing strong, maintaining your independence, and building a future on your own terms. In conclusion, the narcissist's return is inevitable, but it doesn't have to disrupt your peace. By staying alert, setting boundaries, and surrounding yourself with support, you can navigate their reappearance with confidence and strength. Remember, their persistence is a reflection of their need for control, not your worth. You have the power to stand firm and protect your emotional well-being. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of narcissistic behavior and how to stay vigilant. If you found this information valuable, please like, subscribe, and share this video with others. Together, we can empower ourselves and build a community of resilience. Until next time, stay strong and stay prepared.